How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the What's Up Eddie channel, Divine Therapy Sessions. And of course, I'm the one and only Eddie. So glad to have you guys back. And these are my Divine Therapy Sessions. And in today's Eddie's Love Bug Advice, we're going to talk about higher level connections and just the overall journey. So I feel like this is going to be maybe like a 3-part video because there's different dynamics to this, right? So what I want to explain is, so when we go through the spiritual awakening process, a lot of the times we've been living a double life, right? So you're forgetting how to live in the, I would say, the real world or matrix way of thinking, and then you move into a higher level of thinking, right? And it's not to say that one's dumb and one's smart, because that's not how it works. It's really difficult to explain it unless I had a long time on a video to explain this. So you would have to watch every one of my videos to know what I'm talking about to put this together. So a lot of the times we find ourselves, okay, so if we lived 2 lives before, right, and we woke up and we started living in a whole different way, a lot of the times we're being called. So when you wake up, we're being called to do something, and it takes us time to actually come to this reality that we're here for a purpose. Because a lot of the times we believe that we just don't really have a meaning, right? You do your 9 to 5, you wake up and you do it over and over again, and then finally when you break free of that mentality, and that's just one small portion of what I'm talking about. So a lot of the times we find ourselves in, because that's where we were before, low vibrational, and it's no fault of our own. We grew up that way. It's like the same thing as this, and it's a very elementary way of saying it, is explaining this, is it's like you grew up in a commune, or like a commune or a cult, and the whole, since you were a little kid all the way up to let's say 22 years old, and you were taught everything backwards. You know, the sky is actually the earth is the sky, the color blue is red, the color red is blue. So this person would grow up believing differently from the rest of our society had they been taken out of that commune and injected into our community, right? They would be off their concepts, but they would believe that they're right, and we would believe we were right? The same thing happens for people in spiritual relationships. A lot of the times we find ourselves being called to a higher purpose in life, and we struggle with that purpose. Now that's just the finding your purpose side of this. What I'm talking about is the spiritual relationships that we're in, right? Because we're all spiritual no matter what. Whether you've been awakened or not, we're all on the journey to ascension. And ascension is just realizing who you are, what you are on the inside, right? And when you develop that idea or ideology, you start to become a higher vibrational person, and you realize that you are quite limitless. The problem that we have is that we have to let go of a lot of people in the process, and it's very difficult. And it's very difficult too because a lot of us that wake up are empaths. We have this higher sense of sensitivity, compassion, empathy, and a lot of us are wounded warriors. So it's tragic. You're going to find the hardest part of your journey is that you are your biggest problem. And the people around you who surround yourself, because you're an easy target to manipulate. You're an easy target for people to take energy from you, because you've been giving it away so freely, right? And it's hard it is difficult because we've been trained a certain way, right? Most of us in society don't even know what we're doing sometimes. So check it out. You and I, because this is where I found myself at. A lot of the times we're in a relationship of where we're at, and it's low vibrational. And a lot of times we have to let that go And it's a different story, because a lot of the times, you think about the twin soul or twin flame journey, soulmates. There's different ideas on what that looks like. Whatever you're on, whatever journey do you believe that you're on, and every journey is your truth or your reality, and it's a level of learning, right? So it's not to take anything away from anyone, but a lot of the times we have a previous life, a previous relationship that we have been in. And I've seen this so many times in the spiritual community where, and it's no different from a man and a woman. I've gone through it too, and it's so difficult to let go of a connection that especially if you had kids, a house, a whole different life, and it's usually the beginning of the spiritual awakening process, and to moving into your purpose. A lot of the times we have a difficult time letting go of the lower vibing connection, and I think there's a time period too where we have to look at ourselves and not be in a relationship as well, because it's difficult. And I do know that there's a huge difference between being in a higher level connection as opposed to a lower level. So we always want to take the person with us, right? But it's like the same as an alcoholic. And anyone who's dealt with this knows what I'm talking about. It's like trying to get an alcoholic to stop drinking when the alcoholic does not want to stop drinking. It's impossible. You can look, I'm a person who is in this disease, right? Who has it. I can tell you, if I wasn't sober for 16 months at this point, and I was still in my disease, our disease is so bad that your mother could be dying, and the solution for her not dying is for you to stop drinking, and most of us will not do it if we're deep in the midst of that addiction. It is the same thing for a person who you can't make somebody awaken. That is only the Creator's job. It's not our job. And a lot of the times we want to do that for people, and you just realize that it's not possible. So what our calling is to go out there and wake up or further along and embrace others on the journey, right? Like attracts like as well. You'll start to notice that. And a lot of the time, these lower connections are usually it's usually parasitic, and it's not a mutualistic relationship. There's not an equal exchange. There's usually one who is living off the other one, and a lot of this, guys, goes back to energy. And that the energy thing that I talk about is expanded in a wide variety of concepts. Usually the person's taking advantage of the person. We as empaths usually attract narcissistic people. It's because we are the prime meat, the prime, especially if you're high vibrational, someone can live and hibernate off of your energy. There's people that do this. Energy vampires love, what is it called? Energy harvesting. Energy harvesting is what is coming to my mind. But that's a whole different subject. What I'm talking about is that, like, these connections are more parasitic. One entity is getting more from the other one, if that's how you want to look at it. And it's usually a lot of arguing. It's a lot of trying to convince this person. And on the other end of the coin, there's always clashes. One doesn't get the other person, and the other one does not get that person as well. Now, when you look at a higher level of connection, you look at it and it's super different, especially when you speak to a different person that's on the same level and on the same journey. You guys speak the same language. You don't necessarily have to be in an intimate relationship for it to be a soul connection. And there's a difference between a soul connection and just I would say the 3D relationships that we have, like you call it acquaintances, or a lot of the times it's like, to me, it's like I call it in passing relationships. It's not really authentic. A lot of the times we talk about the same old things. You know, well, the interesting thing is I just spoke with a soul sister who is on her journey, who helped me with this video. She sparked some ideas as well. And so I knew this girl in high school, and I hadn't spoken to her in forever, right? And she, like, I know she was just as surprised to see me where I'm at now and where she's at, as opposed to, and our journeys are, a lot of our journeys are similar, right? They have differences, obviously, but like it's the same formula. So the interesting thing about this is that, like, in the I would say the week time frame of us communicating, we've said more in our communications than a lot of our other connections. And I would say our conversations have been maybe 2 or 3 expansive conversations, and they've been of so many wide variety topics. And this is what I'm talking about. When 2 people come at a soul connection, and it's not, obviously you'll realize in all those initial contacts is like, where is this person coming from? What do they want from me? And it's not that type of conversation anymore. It's more mind expansive. We're talking about subjects that are taboo. We're talking about subjects that are far-reaching, human evolutionary conversations, and the pushing the fabric or pushing the I would say the bar forward, right? And it's as if you guys knew each other the whole, like, as if you've been talking all those years and you guys know each other from a different life. It's those type of connections that I'm talking about. And when you find that person that is your other half, I believe maybe a twin flame or a soulmate, and I think we have a lot of soulmates. It doesn't have to be relationship. It could be friendship. It could be your mother, it could be a daughter or your niece. It could be anyone, but those are soulmate contracts or soulmate connections, right? And these higher level connections are usually to further advance your spiritual journey. And we all are connected this way. And a lot of the people that haven't woken up, and I say this with the bottom of my heart, it's so hard. A lot of the times we have to let this person go. And part of this process is they're supposed to see you wake up, and they're supposed to see what happens with you, because there is this huge change that happens. And after the huge change and you leave, it pushes people usually in a state of awakening, right? Where they have to start looking at themselves and growing. And if they decide that they're not going to grow, guess what? You guys move apart. But this is the most difficult part for people, because you don't want to let that connection go, right? Because you've been around them so long, and you know, but the thing is, it's like you guys speak 2 different languages. It's so darn difficult because you're speaking in different ways, and you're not even looking at life in the same viewpoints. You're not the same person anymore. And that's the biggest struggle that I could say in this process of being in the lower end, or the lower vibrational connections, as opposed to the higher soulmate connections, right? And there's a huge difference. And I feel like for most of us that wake up, being in the 3rd density relationships aren't going to get us anywhere. I could say that right now, and it's difficult for me to get to that point to say that, but until we actually come to terms with that, it'll be very difficult to get onto the next portion of life, because you start to realize that, you know, when you wake up and then you realize that the world's different than what you thought, and then you move into this higher level of thinking and you realize that you have a purpose on earth, and then when you follow that purpose, you start to realize that you want to be one authentic person. You don't want to wear different masks. And when you start taking all those masks off, you realize that there's different portions of your life and or different dynamics, different perceptions of what your life is. And until it's all connected, and it's very difficult, right? And you could look at it in an abstract way, like your chakra system, but you also could look at it as like the mind, the body, and the soul connection, right? And I think until you get these platforms on one even keel where they're all working in harmony with each other. And that's on every part of your life. Your business has to be your purpose has to be your business, your love life has to be your business. It all has to be on the same level. You can't be in low vibrations in any portion of your life. It all has to be in high vibrations. And until you get there, you're going to find difficulties. And I do believe that this one subject that I'm talking about is that transition of letting go. And letting go of your loved one is difficult. I'm not going to say that it's not, but it's imperative that you do so, because you're also hindering the other person as well. That's not saying that you're better or worse than the other, but you're enabling. And I've been a part of that, enabling another person, and I've been enabled too. And I can say, just on the directive of just a person in addiction, enabling you, if you are enabling anyone in any form or fashion, you are slowly killing that person. You are making the indefinite, you're pushing off the inevitable. That person is on a slow mission to kill themselves, and you're pushing it further back. A lot of the times we have to allow that person to hit rock bottom, even though it's difficult and hard, right? The same it goes for the spiritual relationship journey. It's difficult. You guys got to let that person go. I'm gonna make more of a specific versions of this video, but I wanted to get an overall look at what this looks like, right? And my heart goes out to you guys. You know, it's a very difficult subject, but I want to talk more in details of what a high level connection or soulmate connection looks like, and I want to look in detail at what a low vibrational relationship looks like. And then yeah, I think that's where I want to go with it. And then yeah, that's all I got, you guys. I love you guys. Give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yeah, that's all I got on this one, and I love you guys. All right.